Abigail's coffee cup slipped from her hand and shattered on the office floor. Hot liquid splashed across her shoes, but she didn't even notice. Her eyes were locked on the scene unfolding through the glass walls of the main conference room. There stood Min-Jun, her Korean co-worker. The same man she'd spent 7 months teaching everything she knew about the company. The same man who could barely send an email when he first arrived. The same man who she'd helped every single day, staying late, missing lunches, sharing all her secrets to success. And there, on the massive screen behind him, was her presentation. The one she'd worked on for 3 years. Her revolutionary marketing strategy. Her ideas. Her research. Her graphs. Her words. But it was Min-Jun standing at the front of the room. Min-Jun wearing a brand new suit. Min-Jun shaking hands with Mr. Peterson, the CEO. Min-Jun accepted congratulations from the entire executive team. Abigail watched as Mr. Peterson pinned something to Min-Jun's jacket, a gold badge. The gold badge that only senior marketing directors wore. The position Abigail had been promised. The job she'd been told was hers after she finished one more big project. This was supposed to be her moment. Her legs felt weak. The hallway seemed to spin around her. Then Min-Jun turned toward the glass wall and saw her standing there. Their eyes met across the distance. He didn't look surprised. He didn't look guilty. He didn't look sorry. He smiled. A slow, knowing smile. And then he had the audacity to give her a small wave, like they were old friends sharing a private joke. That's when Abigail knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned. This was deliberate. She'd been used. Hit that subscribe button right now if you want to know how this story ends. And comment below, where are you watching from? I love hearing from all of you. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare really began. Abigail loved her job at BrightWave Marketing Agency. She'd worked there for 6 years, climbing her way up from a junior copywriter to the marketing manager position. She was good. No, she was excellent at what she did. Every campaign she created brought in new clients. Every strategy she designed increased sales. The company's biggest success stories? Those were all Abigail's work. The Peterson furniture campaign that went viral? Abigail. The rebranding of Sunny Day beverages that doubled their revenue? Abigail. The social media strategy that made TechStart Solutions a household name? All Abigail. Mr. Peterson, the CEO, loved her work. Abigail, he'd say during meetings, you're the future of this company. Keep this up, and you'll be running your own department soon. That soon had been dangling in front of her for 2 years. But Abigail was patient. She knew her worth. She knew the promotion would come. Then came that Tuesday morning in September. Abigail was at her desk, working on a presentation for a major new client, when Mr. Peterson's assistant called her. Abigail, Mr. Peterson would like to see you in his office. Can you come now? Her heart jumped. This was it. Finally, the promotion she'd been working toward for so long. She grabbed her portfolio, just in case, and walked to the executive floor. Mr. Peterson's office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It always made Abigail feel important just being in there. Abigail, come in, sit down, Mr. Peterson said warmly. He was a tall man in his 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. I've got some exciting news to share with you. Abigail sat up straight, trying to keep her excitement hidden. Professional. Stay professional. As you know, we've been expanding our international reach, he began. We've formed a partnership with a major Korean marketing firm, JK Creative Solutions. It's a huge opportunity for us. Abigail nodded, though she felt a tiny bit of disappointment. This wasn't about her promotion. Not yet, anyway. They're sending one of their top young marketers to work with us for a year. It's a cultural exchange program. He'll learn our methods, and we'll learn from their innovative approaches. It's a win-win. That sounds wonderful, sir, Abigail said politely. Mr. Peterson leaned forward, his expression serious now. Abigail, I need someone special to mentor him. Someone who knows this company inside and out. Someone who embodies everything we stand for. Someone I can trust completely. Abigail felt her chest swell with pride. I want you to be his mentor. Teach him everything you know. Show him how we work. Make him feel welcome here. Can you do that for me? It wasn't a promotion, but it was important. It showed Mr. Peterson trusted her. Maybe this was the final test before her promotion. Show leadership. Mentor someone successfully. Prove she could manage people, not just projects. Absolutely, sir. I'd be honored, Abigail said, smiling. Excellent. He arrives next Monday. His name is Park Min-Jun. I'm counting on you, Abigail. This partnership could open doors for us in the Asian market. Make this work and—" he paused meaningfully. "There might be some very good news for you in the near future." There it was. The hint. The promise. Do this well, and the promotion would be hers. Abigail left the office walking on air. She could do this. She was good at teaching. She was patient. She was kind. This would be easy. Monday morning arrived bright and early. Abigail got to the office an hour before her usual time. She wanted everything perfect. She organized her desk area, prepared training materials, printed out guides about the company, and even bought a welcome card that said, "Happy to have you on the team." At 9 o'clock, Mr. Peterson walked into the marketing department with a young man beside him. Min-Jun was probably around 30 years old, dressed in an expensive-looking navy suit with a crisp white shirt. His hair was styled neatly, and he carried a leather bag that looked like it cost more than Abigail's monthly rent. He had a serious expression, but when Mr. Peterson introduced him to the team, he smiled warmly. "Everyone, this is Park Min-Jun from JK Creative Solutions in Seoul," Mr. Peterson announced. "He'll be working with us for the next year. Please make him feel welcome." Min-Jun bowed slightly, a traditional Korean greeting. "Hello, everyone. Please call me Min-Jun. I am very grateful to be here. Thank you for accepting me." His English was clear but spoken with a strong Korean accent. He chose his words carefully, speaking a bit slowly. "And this," Mr. Peterson said, gesturing to Abigail, "is Abigail Chun, our marketing manager and one of our absolute best. Abigail, Min-Jun is all yours. Teach him everything." Abigail stood up and extended her hand. "Welcome to BrightWave, Min-Jun. We're so happy to have you here." Min-Jun shook her hand with both of his, another Korean custom, showing respect. "Thank you, Abigail. I have heard you are very talented. I hope to learn much from you." He seemed genuinely nice, respectful, humble. "I am eager to learn." "We're going to have a great year," Abigail said, meaning every word. She had absolutely no idea what she was about to put in motion. The first few weeks were harder than Abigail expected. Min-Jun was clearly intelligent. She could see that immediately. But he knew almost nothing about how BrightWave operated. In Korea, their marketing methods were completely different. The software they used was different. The way they communicated with clients was different. Even the way they structured their presentations was different. Abigail had to start from scratch with him. She taught him how to use their project management system, how to create reports in the format Mr. Peterson liked, how to analyze market data using their specific tools, how to pitch ideas in meetings, how to build relationships with clients. "In Korea, we do this way," Min-Jun would say often, showing her something on his laptop. "But what I see here is different. Can you show me again?" And Abigail would show him. Again and again. She was endlessly patient. She created detailed step-by-step guides just for him. She recorded video tutorials so he could watch them at home. She stayed late multiple nights a week, going over things he didn't understand. She shared her personal notes, strategies she'd developed over 6 years of hard work. "Abigail, you are a very kind teacher," Min-Jun said one evening as they worked past 7 o'clock. "Many people would not be so patient." "Hey, teamwork makes the dream work, right?" Abigail said, smiling tiredly. "When you succeed, the whole company succeeds. We're all in this together." Min-Jun nodded thoughtfully. "You believe in helping others. This is good quality." "That's how I was raised," Abigail said. "My mom always told me, success means nothing if you can't lift others up with you." Min-Jun smiled at that. "Your mother sounds wise." After about 6 weeks, Min-Jun started to get better. He began using the software correctly. His emails to clients became more professional. His presentations looked cleaner. But he still needed Abigail's help constantly. "Abigail, can you check this proposal before I send it?" "Abigail, how should I respond to this client's question?" "Abigail, which data should I include in this report?" "Abigail, can you review my presentation for tomorrow's meeting?" She said yes every single time. Because that's what mentors do, right? That's what Mr. Peterson asked her to do. Make Min-Jun successful. Show leadership. Prove she could develop talent. Her own work started to pile up. She began staying at the office until 8 or 9 at night, finishing her own projects after spending all day helping Min-Jun. She skipped lunch to answer his questions. She worked through weekends to catch up. Her friend Rachel from accounting noticed. "Girl, you look exhausted. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Abigail said, rubbing her tired eyes. Just busy with the Min-Jun training and my regular work. Maybe you should tell Mr. Peterson you need help. You're basically doing 2 jobs right now. It's temporary, Abigail assured her. Min-Jun is getting better every day. Soon he won't need me as much. Plus, this is part of my path to the promotion. I can't complain about the work. Rachel frowned but didn't push it. Just don't burn yourself out, okay? But Abigail was already burning out. She just didn't want to admit it. Around month 3, something shifted. Min-Jun wasn't just asking basic questions anymore. He started asking deeper things. Abigail, how do you come up with creative campaign ideas? Where does inspiration come from for you? Abigail, what is your secret for understanding what clients really want? Abigail, can you teach me your process for market research? Your methods seem very effective. Abigail was flattered. He valued her expertise. He wanted to learn from her specifically, not just about the company's systems, but about her way of doing things. So she shared everything. She showed him her personal brainstorming techniques, the mind mapping system she'd developed over years. She explained her research methods, the specific websites, tools, and approaches she used that nobody else in the company knew about. She even shared her client psychology strategies, how to read people, how to understand what they needed before they even said it. This is incredible, Min-Jun said one afternoon, taking notes furiously as Abigail explained her golden triangle strategy for viral marketing. You have created your own system. This is very valuable. Thanks, Abigail said, blushing a little. I've been perfecting it for years. I've never actually written it all down in one place. You're the first person I've fully explained it to. I am honored, Min-Jun said seriously. You trust me with this knowledge. Of course I do, Abigail said. We're a team. In month 5, Mr. Peterson called a company-wide meeting. Everyone, I have exciting news. We've been invited to pitch for the GlobalTech account. This is potentially our biggest client ever. A multi-million-dollar contract. The room buzzed with excitement. GlobalTech was huge. Landing them would be career-defining. I'm putting together our best team for this pitch, Mr. Peterson continued. Abigail, you'll lead the strategy. This is your moment to shine. Abigail's heart soared. This was it. The big opportunity. Land this client, and the promotion was guaranteed. Min-Jun, Mr. Peterson added, you'll assist Abigail. This will be a great learning experience for you. Over the next 2 months, Abigail poured her entire soul into that proposal. She worked 16-hour days. She researched every aspect of GlobalTech's business, their competitors, their market position, their challenges, their opportunities. She developed a complete revolutionary strategy, a 360-degree marketing approach that combined traditional methods with cutting-edge social media tactics, influencer partnerships, and data-driven personalization. It was brilliant. It was innovative. It was the best work she'd ever done. And Min-Jun was there every step of the way, watching, learning, taking notes. This strategy is genius, he told her one night as they worked late. You have thought of everything. You think so? Abigail asked, exhausted but pleased. I know so, Min-Jun said. GlobalTech would be foolish not to choose us. He helped her create the presentation slides. He reviewed her data. He gave feedback on her talking points. They were a team. Partners. Abigail felt like she'd finally found a real colleague who understood and appreciated her work. The presentation was scheduled for 3 weeks from now. Abigail had it all planned out. She would present. Min-Jun would assist. They would win the account together. And then, finally, Mr. Peterson would give her that promotion. Everything was falling into place perfectly. Or so she thought. 1 week before the GlobalTech presentation, Abigail arrived at work early as usual. She wanted to practice her pitch one more time. When she got to her desk, she noticed Min-Jun's computer was on, even though he hadn't arrived yet. That was strange. Min-Jun always shut down his computer at night. He was very careful about that. Abigail walked over, intending to turn it off for him. But then she saw what was on the screen. A document, titled, GlobalTech Strategy Final Version MJ. Her strategy. Her words. Her ideas. But saved under Min-Jun's name. Her stomach dropped. Maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe he was organizing the files and accidentally saved it wrong. That had to be it. But something felt off. Before she could think too much about it, Min-Jun walked in. Oh, Abigail. You are here early, he said, looking startled to see her near his desk. Your computer was on, Abigail explained. I was going to shut it down for you. Ah, thank you, Min-Jun said quickly, moving to his desk and closing the document before she could see more. I forgot last night. Very careless of me. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Is everything okay with the presentation prep? Abigail asked, watching him carefully. Yes, everything is perfect, Min-Jun assured her. You have done amazing work. I am just organizing files. Abigail wanted to believe him. She'd worked with him for 5 months. He'd always been respectful, grateful, kind. She was probably just being paranoid from stress. Okay, good, she said, pushing down her uneasiness. Let's do a practice run this afternoon. Yes, good idea, Min-Jun agreed. But Abigail couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Something was wrong. She just didn't know how wrong until it was far too late. Abigail couldn't sleep that night. She kept thinking about that document on Min-Jun's computer. GlobalTech Strategy, final version MJ. Those initials. MJ. Min-Jun. She tossed and turned in bed, her mind racing. Was she overreacting? Min-Jun had been nothing but respectful and grateful for 5 whole months. He'd worked hard. He'd learned from her. He'd always given her credit. But that feeling in her gut wouldn't go away. The next morning, Abigail decided to do something she'd never done before. She arrived at the office at 6 in the morning, 3 hours before anyone else. She needed to check something. She went to the shared project drive where all the GlobalTech files were stored. She opened the folder and looked at the file history. Her hands trembled as she clicked through the details. What she saw made her blood run cold. Someone had been accessing her files late at night, after she'd gone home. The timestamps showed activity at 11 p.m., midnight, even 2 in the morning. And every single access was from Min-Jun's user account. He'd been copying her documents. All of them. Her research. Her strategies. Her notes. Her brainstorming sessions. Everything. But why would he need copies? They were already working together. They shared the same files. Unless. No. She was being paranoid. There had to be a reasonable explanation. Abigail closed the file history and took a deep breath. She would ask him directly. Clear the air. Communication was important in any working relationship. When Min-Jun arrived at 8:30, Abigail was waiting at his desk. Min-Jun, can we talk for a minute? She asked, trying to keep her voice calm and friendly. Of course, Abigail. What is it? He set down his coffee and looked at her with those same respectful eyes she'd trusted for months. I noticed you've been accessing the GlobalTech files late at night. Is everything okay? Do you need help with something? For just a split second, barely even noticeable, something flickered across Min-Jun's face. Surprise? Worry? But it vanished so quickly that Abigail wondered if she'd imagined it. Ah, yes, Min-Jun said, smiling apologetically. I am sorry. I should have told you. I have been practicing the presentation. I want to make sure I can assist you properly, so I review the files at home. I hope that is okay. It sounded reasonable. It sounded innocent. You know you can always ask me if you have questions, right? Abigail said, watching his face carefully. Yes, I know. You are always so helpful, Min-Jun said warmly. But I did not want to bother you more. You work so hard already. I thought I should try to learn some things by myself. He sounded so sincere. So thoughtful even. Worrying about bothering her. Abigail felt her suspicions melting away. She was being ridiculous. Min-Jun was just being a dedicated worker, trying to prepare properly for the big presentation. Okay, she said, forcing a smile. I just wanted to make sure everything was all right. Everything is perfect, Min-Jun assured her. Thanks to you. But as Abigail walked back to her desk, that uncomfortable feeling in her stomach remained. During lunch that day, Abigail sat with her friend Rachel in the cafeteria. She needed to talk to someone. Rach, can I ask you something? And promise you'll be honest with me? Rachel looked up from her salad. Of course. What's going on? Do you think I'm being paranoid about Min-Jun? Rachel's expression became serious. What do you mean? Abigail explained everything. The late-night file access, the document with his initials, the weird feeling she couldn't shake. Rachel put down her fork. Abby, I've been wanting to talk to you about something, but I didn't know how to bring it up. Abigail's heart started beating faster. What is it? Last week, I was working late in accounting. I needed to grab something from the executive floor. When I walked past Mr. at Peterson's office, I saw Min-Jun there, alone with Mr. Peterson. The door was closed, but I could see them through the glass. They were looking at a presentation on the big screen. So, maybe Mr. Peterson wanted an update on the GlobalTech project, Abigail said, though her stomach was churning. Maybe, Rachel said carefully. But here's the thing. You weren't there. And from what you've told me, you're leading this project. So why would Min-Jun be presenting to Mr. Peterson without you? Abigail felt dizzy. What? What time was this? Around 7:30. I remember because I was rushing to get home before 8. 7:30 last Wednesday. Abigail had left the office at 6 that day because she'd had a dentist appointment. She'd told Min-Jun to go home early too, that they'd earned a break. But he hadn't gone home. He'd gone to Mr. Peterson's office. There's probably a good explanation, Abigail said weakly. Rachel reached across the table and grabbed Abigail's hand. Sweetie, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I've worked in corporate environments for 10 years. I've seen this kind of thing before. Just be careful, okay? Protect yourself. How do I protect myself? Abigail asked, feeling helpless. Document everything, Rachel said firmly. Make copies of your work. Send yourself emails with your ideas. Create a paper trail that proves this is your project. Just in case. But that feels like I don't trust him, Abigail protested. Better to be safe than sorry, Rachel said. Trust your gut, Abby. That uncomfortable feeling you have, that's your instinct trying to tell you something. That afternoon, Abigail did something that made her feel guilty and sneaky, but Rachel's words kept echoing in her mind. She created a private folder on her personal laptop, not on the company server, and copied all her original work there. Every brainstorming document, every research file, every draft of the GlobalTech strategy. She even took screenshots of the file creation dates, showing that she had created them first, not Min-Jun. She sent herself detailed emails describing her process, her ideas, her strategies. She created a timeline showing when she'd developed each part of the proposal. It felt wrong, like she was preparing for battle with someone who was supposed to be her partner. But deep down, something told her she was going to need this evidence. Over the next week, Abigail started noticing things she'd been too busy to see before. Min-Jun was having a lot of private conversations with Mr. Peterson. She'd see them in the hallway, talking quietly. She'd notice them having coffee together in Mr. Peterson's office. One time, she saw them laughing together like old friends. When had they gotten so close? She also noticed that Min-Jun had started staying later than her at the office. He'd say things like, "You go home, Abigail. You have worked so hard. I will finish organizing the files." At first, she'd been grateful. It seemed considerate. Now she wondered what he was doing after she left. She also noticed that other colleagues were treating Min-Jun differently. They asked him questions about projects, questions they used to ask her. They invited him to meetings that she wasn't included in. They talked about him like he was some kind of rising star. Min-Jun has such innovative ideas, she heard Jessica from sales say one day. I love Min-Jun's approach to client relations, Tom from business development mentioned in a meeting. Min-Jun's approach? Those were Abigail's approaches. She'd taught him everything he knew. But nobody seemed to remember that. 5 days before the GlobalTech pitch, Mr. Peterson called Abigail and Min-Jun into the conference room for a practice presentation. I want to see what you've prepared, he said, settling into his chair. Show me what we're pitching. Of course, sir, Abigail said, pulling up her presentation on the big screen. She'd practiced this dozens of times. She knew it backward and forward. She began presenting, explaining the comprehensive strategy she'd developed. The market analysis, the consumer psychology insights, the multi-platform approach, the innovative social media tactics. Mr. Peterson nodded along, but he seemed distracted. He kept glancing at Min-Jun, who sat quietly taking notes. When Abigail finished the first section, Mr. Peterson held up his hand. Min-Jun, what do you think? Any thoughts to add? Abigail felt a small stab of surprise. This was her presentation. Why was Mr. Peterson asking Min-Jun for input during her practice run? Min-Jun stood up smoothly. If I may, Mr. Peterson, I have been thinking about the social media component. In Korea, we have found that micro-influencers actually provide better ROI than major influencers. Perhaps we could incorporate that strategy here. Abigail's mouth fell open. That was her idea. She'd literally explained that exact concept to Min-Jun 2 weeks ago. She'd shown him the research. She'd walked him through the data. And now he was presenting it like it was his own thought. Excellent point, Min-Jun, Mr. Peterson said, looking impressed. See, Abigail? This is why collaboration is so valuable. Fresh perspectives. Fresh perspectives? That was Abigail's own research being fed back to her. She wanted to speak up. She wanted to say, "Actually, I developed that strategy." But something stopped her. Maybe it was professionalism. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was denial. Instead, she just smiled tightly and said, "Yes, Min-Jun and I have been working closely on all aspects of this proposal." The practice continued, but Abigail felt sick to her stomach. 3 more times during the session, Min-Jun added insights that were actually ideas Abigail had taught him. And each time, Mr. Peterson praised him for his innovative thinking. When the practice ended, Mr. Peterson stood up. "This is good work, both of you. But I think we need to make some adjustments to the presentation structure. Min-Jun, can you stay for a few minutes? I want to discuss some ideas with you." "Of course, sir," Min-Jun said. Abigail stood there, stunned. "Should I stay too? Since I'm leading the project." "No need," Mr. Peterson said dismissively. "You've worked so hard, Abigail. Take the evening off. Min-Jun and I will just fine-tune a few details." "Fine-tune her presentation? Without her?" "But," Abigail started. "That's all for now, Abigail," Mr. Peterson said, already turning his attention back to Min-Jun. "Great work. We'll reconvene tomorrow." Abigail left the conference room in a daze. Through the glass walls, she could see Mr. Peterson and Min-Jun sitting together, looking at her presentation, talking and nodding. Without her. About her work. Rachel's words came back to her. "Protect yourself." That night, Abigail couldn't sleep again. At 2 a.m, she gave up trying. She grabbed her laptop and logged into the company system from home. Something employees were allowed to do for urgent work. She needed to check something. She went to the GlobalTech project folder and opened the main presentation file. The one she and Min-Jun had been working on together. The one she'd created from scratch. Her heart nearly stopped. The file had been edited. Recently. Tonight, in fact. At 10:47 p.m., long after she'd left the office. She opened the document. Her name was gone. Everywhere she'd written "developed by Abigail Chun" or "Abigail Chun, marketing manager," had been changed to "developed by Min-Jun Park" or "Min-Jun Park, marketing specialist." Her biographical slide, the one that established her credentials and expertise, had been replaced with Min-Jun's biography. The entire presentation had been reframed to make it look like Min-Jun was the lead strategist and Abigail was just his assistant. She couldn't breathe. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely use the mouse. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was theft. This was betrayal. She quickly saved a copy of this altered version as evidence. Then she restored the file to her original version, putting her name back where it belonged. But her mind was racing. Should she confront Min-Jun? Should she go to Mr. Peterson? Should she go to HR? What if no one believed her? Min-Jun was so charming, so respectful, so well-liked. What if they thought she was the problem? What if they accused her of being jealous or difficult? She needed more proof. She needed to be absolutely certain before she made any accusations. The next morning, Abigail came to work with a plan. She would set a trap. She created a new document, a fake alternative strategy for GlobalTech. She filled it with ideas that sounded good, but wouldn't actually work. She deliberately included some flawed data and some questionable approaches. Then she saved it in the shared folder with a tempting title, GlobalTech, Abigail's Secret Backup Plan Confidential. She mentioned it casually to Min-Jun. "Hey, I created a backup strategy, just in case Mr. Peterson doesn't like our main approach. It's in the shared folder, but it's still rough. Don't worry about it." "Ah, okay," Min-Jun said, barely looking up from his computer. That night, Abigail stayed late, but she pretended to leave. She made a big show of packing her bag, saying goodbye to Min-Jun, and walking to the elevator. But instead of leaving the building, she went to the coffee shop on the ground floor. She sat there for an hour, laptop open, watching the company network remotely. At 7:15 p.m., her trap was triggered. Someone accessed Abigail's Secret Backup Plan Confidential. User Min-Jun Park. He'd taken the bait. Abigail watched in real time as he not only opened the file, but copied it to his personal folder. Then he opened another document, one she didn't recognize, and started copying sections from her fake strategy into it. He was building his own presentation, using her work, planning to present it as his own. Abigail had all the proof she needed now. But before she could decide what to do with this information, her phone buzzed. An email from Mr. Peterson's assistant. "Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m., Mr. Peterson's office. Attendance required, Abigail Chun, Min-Jun Park. Subject, GlobalTech presentation, important changes. Important changes? Abigail's hands went cold. Something big was about to happen. She could feel it. And when she arrived at the office the next morning, ready for that 9 a.m. meeting, she found Mr. Peterson's door already closed. Through the glass, she could see Min-Jun inside. Already there. Already talking. Already presenting something on the screen. The meeting wasn't supposed to start for another 10 minutes. So why was Min-Jun already there? Abigail's phone buzzed again. Another email from Mr. Peterson's assistant. Meeting cancelled for Abigail Chun. Mr. Peterson will update you later today. Cancelled? But Min-Jun was still in there. Through the glass wall, she watched as Mr. Peterson shook Min-Jun's hand. Both men were smiling. Mr. Peterson looked excited about something. Then Min-Jun turned toward the glass and saw Abigail standing in the hallway. Their eyes met. And once again he smiled. But this time Abigail saw it clearly. It wasn't a friendly smile. It wasn't a respectful smile. It was a smile that said, "I won." Abigail felt the world tilting beneath her feet. Everything she'd worked for. Everything she'd built. Everything she'd trusted. It was all falling apart. And the worst part, she'd helped it happen. She'd handed Min-Jun every tool he needed to destroy her. Abigail stood frozen in the hallway, staring through the glass wall as Mr. Peterson and Min-Jun laughed together like old friends. Her meeting had been cancelled, but Min-Jun was still there. Still talking. Still presenting. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only 20 minutes, the door opened. "Abigail," Mr. Peterson called out cheerfully. Come in, come in. I have some exciting news to share with both of you." "Both of you?" Abigail's stomach twisted into knots as she walked into the office. Min-Jun was already seated, looking perfectly calm and professional. He nodded at her politely. Sit down, Mr. Peterson said, gesturing to the chair next to Min-Jun. Abigail sat, her back rigid, her hands clenched in her lap. "So," Mr. Peterson began, leaning back in his expensive leather chair, "I've been doing a lot of thinking about the GlobalTech presentation. This is our biggest opportunity yet, and I want to make absolutely sure we nail it." "Yes, sir," Abigail said, her voice coming out smaller than she intended. "I've been reviewing the strategy you both developed, and I have to say, I'm incredibly impressed. The research is thorough. The approach is innovative. The whole package is exactly what GlobalTech needs." Abigail felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe everything was fine. Maybe she'd been paranoid. Maybe. However, Mr. Peterson continued, and that one word crushed Abigail's hope like a bug under a shoe, "I've decided to make a change to who will be presenting." The room started spinning. Abigail gripped the armrest of her chair. "Min-Jun has shown remarkable growth over these past months," Mr. Peterson said, looking at Min-Jun with pride. "His understanding of international markets, his fresh perspective, his innovative ideas. I think he should be the one to lead the presentation to GlobalTech." The words hit Abigail like a physical blow. "Sir, I developed this entire strategy. I've been working on it for months." And you did excellent work, Abigail," Mr. Peterson interrupted, but his tone was dismissive. "Which is exactly why you'll be the perfect support for Min-Jun. You know the material inside and out, so you can help him prepare and assist during the presentation." "Assist? Assist?" This was her project. "But Mr. Peterson," Abigail tried again, fighting to keep her voice steady, "with all due respect, I've been with this company for 6 years. I've led every major campaign we've had. This was supposed to be my project to lead." Mr. Peterson's expression hardened slightly. "Abigail, this isn't about tenure. This is about what's best for the company. GlobalTech is a global corporation with major operations in Asia. Having Min-Jun lead the presentation shows we understand international business. It's strategic." "I understand international business too," Abigail said, hearing the desperation in her own voice and hating it. "I've studied. The decision is made," Mr. Peterson said firmly. "Min-Jun will lead. You'll support me. I expect you both to work together professionally. Are we clear?" Abigail looked at Min-Jun. He sat there silently, his face a mask of humility and respect. He didn't argue. He didn't say, "Actually, Abigail should lead. It's her work." He didn't defend her at all. He just sat there and let it happen. "Are we clear, Abigail?" Mr. Peterson repeated. What choice did she have? Say no and seem like a difficult employee? Refuse and risk everything? "Yes, sir," Abigail whispered. "We're clear." "Excellent," Mr. Peterson said, his smile returning. "The presentation is in 3 days. I'm sure you two will make us proud. Min-Jun, I'd like to go over a few more details with you. Abigail, you can go. I'll send you both an updated schedule. Dismissed. From her own project. Like she was just an assistant. Abigail stood on shaking legs and walked out of the office. Behind her, she could hear Mr. Peterson and Min-Jun already deep in conversation. She made it to the bathroom before the tears started falling. He what? Rachel's voice echoed through the empty bathroom where Abigail had hidden herself. Abigail had called her friend, unable to hold it together anymore. Between sobs, she explained everything. The meeting, Mr. Peterson's decision, Min-Jun's silence. That snake, Rachel hissed. That absolute snake. And Mr. Peterson is just as bad for allowing it. What do I do, Rach? What can I possibly do? Abigail wiped her eyes with toilet paper, her face splotchy and red. You fight back, Rachel said firmly. You have evidence, right? You saved copies of everything. Yes, but. No buts. You go to HR. You file a formal complaint. You show them the proof that this was your work, that Min-Jun has been stealing your ideas and taking credit. What if they don't believe me? Abigail's voice cracked. What if they think I'm just bitter about not leading the presentation? Min-Jun is so well-liked. He's charming. He's polite. I'll look like the jealous coworker trying to sabotage the new guy. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Then you need to be smart about this. Don't get emotional. Go in with facts. Timestamps. Documentation. Evidence. Make it impossible for them to ignore. The presentation is in 3 days, Abigail said miserably. Even if I report it now, they won't do anything before then. They'll say they need time to investigate. Meanwhile, Min-Jun gets to present my work to GlobalTech, and I have to stand there and watch. So what's your plan? Rachel asked. Just let him win? Abigail looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her eyes were puffy. Her mascara was smeared. She looked defeated. But beneath the tears, something else was growing. Something hot and fierce. Anger. No, Abigail said slowly. I'm not going to let him win. But I need to be strategic about this. What are you thinking? I'm going to help him prepare for the presentation, just like Mr. Peterson asked, Abigail said, her mind racing. I'm going to be the perfect, supportive colleague. And I'm going to document every single interaction. Every idea he claims as his own. Every time he presents my work as his. I'll build an undeniable case. And then, after the presentation, I'm going to HR with everything. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth. The next 2 days were torture. Abigail had to sit with Min-Jun for hours, helping him practice her presentation, teaching him how to explain her ideas, watching him pretend he'd developed strategies that she'd spent years perfecting. So when they ask about the micro-influencer strategy, Min-Jun said during one practice session, I should explain the ROI breakdown, yes? Yes, Abigail said through gritted teeth. The ROI breakdown that I calculated, based on research that I conducted. Min-Jun looked at her, his expression unreadable. Is something wrong, Abigail? This was her chance. She could confront him right now. Demand to know why he'd stolen her work. Ask him how he could betray someone who'd helped him so much. But she held back. Stay professional. Build the case. Document everything. Nothing's wrong, she lied. I just want to make sure you're prepared. You have been very helpful, Min-Jun said. Thank you for your support. Support. That word made her want to scream. She recorded the practice session on her phone, audio only, hidden in her pocket. More evidence. That evening, she received an email from Mr. Peterson. Abigail, I need you to send Min-Jun all your research files, notes, and preparation materials for the GlobalTech presentation. We want him to have access to everything so he can be fully prepared. Thanks for being such a team player. A team player. Is that what you called someone whose work was being stolen? Abigail wanted to refuse. But refusing would make her look uncooperative. It would give them a reason to blame her if the presentation failed. So she sent the files. Every single one. But not before saving copies with detailed notes about when she'd created them, how she developed each idea, and the progression of her research. Documentation. Evidence. Proof. The night before the GlobalTech presentation, Abigail couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. She kept imagining tomorrow, watching Min-Jun present her work to the executives while she stood in the background like a prop. At 11 p.m., her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Jessica from sales. I need to tell you something. Can you call me? Jessica? They'd never been particularly close. Why would she be texting at 11 at night? Abigail called immediately. Jessica? What's going on? I wasn't sure if I should tell you this, Jessica said, her voice nervous. But it's been bothering me for days, and I think you deserve to know. Know what? Last week, I was working late. I needed to print something, so I went to the printer near Mr. Peterson's office. I heard voices, so I looked up, and I saw Min-Jun in there with Mr. Peterson. This was around 8 p.m. Abigail's heart started pounding. What were they doing? They were looking at a presentation. And Abigail, I heard what they were saying. Mr. Peterson was telling Min-Jun that he reminded him of himself when he was younger. That Min-Jun had real leadership potential, and that he was considering promoting him. Promoting him? He's only been here for 7 months. I know, Jessica said. But it gets worse. Mr. Peterson said something about how you were good at technical work, but that Min-Jun had the vision and charisma needed for upper management. Abigail felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. He said that? About me? I'm so sorry, Abigail. I should have told you sooner. But I was worried about causing drama, and I wasn't completely sure what I'd heard. But after Mr. Peterson gave Min-Jun the lead on your presentation, I knew I had to tell you. Thank you, Abigail managed to say. Thank you for telling me. After hanging up, Abigail sat in her dark apartment, everything becoming crystal clear. This wasn't just about the presentation. This was about her entire future at the company. Mr. Peterson had already decided that Min-Jun was the rising star. That Min-Jun had potential. That Min-Jun deserved to advance. And Abigail? She was just the technical person. Good at doing the work, but not leadership material. It didn't matter that she'd been there for 6 years. It didn't matter that every successful campaign had her name on it. It didn't matter that she'd trained Min-Jun from scratch. Mr. Peterson had made his choice. And nothing Abigail did would change his mind. Unless she exposed the truth. Unless she proved that Min-Jun wasn't the genius Mr. Peterson thought he was. That everything Min-Jun knew, everything Min-Jun had accomplished came from her. Tomorrow's presentation was more than just a pitch to GlobalTech. It was Abigail's last chance to save her career. Abigail arrived at the office at 7 a.m. The GlobalTech executives were coming at 10. The presentation would begin at 10:30. She wore her best suit, navy blue, perfectly tailored. She'd spent an hour on her hair and makeup. If she was going down, she was going down looking professional. Min-Jun arrived at 8, also dressed impeccably. He smiled when he saw her. Good morning, Abigail. Are you ready? Ready as I'll ever be, she said coolly. At 9:30, the GlobalTech executives arrived. 3 of them, Mr. Harrison, the CEO, Ms. Rodriguez, the CMO, and Mr. Tanaka, the head of their Asian markets division. They were escorted to the main conference room. The entire BrightWave leadership team was there. Mr. Peterson, the VP of Sales, the VP of Business Development, the head of Creative, and several others. Abigail and Min-Jun were introduced. The GlobalTech executives shook both their hands. We're very excited to see what you've prepared, Mr. Harrison said. We've developed something truly innovative, Min-Jun said confidently. I think you'll be impressed. We? Abigail thought bitterly. You mean I developed it? You just stole it. The presentation began. Min-Jun stood at the front of the room, the slides, Abigail's slides, displayed on the massive screen behind him. Thank you for this opportunity, Min-Jun began. I've spent the last several months developing a comprehensive strategy for GlobalTech's marketing transformation. Lie. First sentence, and it was already a lie. Abigail sat in the back of the room, her fingernails digging into her palms. She was supposed to be supporting Min-Jun, but right now, she wanted to stand up and scream the truth. Min-Jun continued, explaining the market research, Abigail's research. The consumer insights, Abigail's insights. The innovative approaches, Abigail's approaches. He was smooth, confident, charismatic, and he presented everything like it was his own original thinking. The GlobalTech executives nodded along, clearly impressed. Mr. Peterson beamed with pride. This was really happening. Min-Jun was stealing her work right in front of everyone, and nobody even suspected it. Then, about 15 minutes into the presentation, Mr. Tanaka raised his hand. Excuse me, I have a question about the micro-influencer strategy you mentioned. Of course, Min-Jun said smoothly. You said this approach has shown a 340% better ROI than traditional influencer marketing. Can you explain the methodology behind that calculation? What data set did you use? Min-Jun paused. Just for a second. The data comes from comparative analysis of several case studies. Which case study specifically? Mr. Tanaka pressed. I'd like to know the sources. Abigail knew the answer. Of course she did. She'd done the research. She'd analyzed 15 different campaigns across 7 different industries. She'd created a complex algorithm to compare the results. But Min-Jun didn't know the specifics. He'd never asked about the details. He'd just memorized what Abigail told him. The specific case studies are detailed in the appendix of our full report, Min-Jun said, a small bead of sweat appearing on his forehead. I'm looking at the appendix, Mr. Tanaka said, flipping through the printed materials. I see the data, but I don't see the source citations. Where did these numbers come from? Min-Jun's confidence was cracking. Well, the research it was compiled from multiple sources. He was floundering. Everyone could see it. And at that moment, Abigail made a decision. She stood up. If I may, she said, her voice clear and strong, I can answer that question. All eyes turned to her. Mr. Peterson looked annoyed. Min-Jun looked panicked. But the GlobalTech executives looked interested. Please, Mr. Tanaka said. I'd very much like to understand the methodology. Abigail walked to the front of the room. Min-Jun stepped aside, looking relieved that someone was saving him, but also worried about what Abigail might say. The 340% ROI figure comes from a comparative analysis I conducted over 6 months, Abigail explained. I analyzed 15 campaigns, 5 using traditional celebrity influencers, 5 using macro-influencers with 100K to 1M followers, and 5 using micro-influencers with 10K to 100K followers. I tracked engagement rates, conversion rates, cost per acquisition, and long-term customer retention. She pulled up a slide, one she'd created, but that wasn't in Min-Jun's presentation. A slide with detailed charts and data sources. The celebrity influencer campaigns had high reach but low engagement, averaging 1.2% engagement rate. The macro-influencers did better, 3.8% engagement. But the micro-influencers achieved 8.6% engagement, with 42% higher conversion rates and 67% better customer retention over 6 months. Mr. Tanaka leaned forward, suddenly very interested. This is excellent research. Very thorough. Thank you, Abigail said. I've been developing this methodology for the past 3 years. She saw Mr. Peterson's face turn red. She saw Min-Jun's eyes widen in alarm. But she didn't stop. In fact, Abigail continued, pulling up another slide, all of the strategies in this presentation are based on research and methodologies I've developed during my 6 years at BrightWave. I'd be happy to walk you through the complete development process and show you the original documentation. The room went completely silent. Ms. Rodriguez, the CMO of GlobalTech, looked from Abigail to Min-Jun to Mr. Peterson. I'm confused. I thought Min-Jun developed this strategy. Before anyone could answer, the conference room door burst open. It was Sarah from HR, looking flustered and urgent. Mr. Peterson, I need to speak with you immediately. It's extremely important. We're in the middle of a presentation, Mr. Peterson said tersely. Sir, this cannot wait, Sarah insisted. Her eyes flicked to Min-Jun, then to Abigail. It's about the GlobalTech project. There's been a formal complaint filed, and I have evidence that needs to be reviewed immediately. The GlobalTech executives looked at each other, clearly uncomfortable. Mr. Harrison stood up. Perhaps we should take a break while you sort out whatever internal issue this is? Everything was falling apart. The presentation was ruined. But Abigail didn't care anymore. The truth was about to come out. And there was no stopping it now. The GlobalTech executives were escorted to a private lounge while Mr. Peterson, Min-Jun, Abigail, and Sarah from HR gathered in a smaller conference room. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. What is the meaning of this interruption? Mr. Peterson demanded, his face still red with anger. Sarah placed a thick folder on the table. Yesterday evening, I received a formal complaint from Abigail Chun regarding intellectual property theft and credit misappropriation. The evidence she provided was substantial enough that I felt it necessary to intervene before this presentation continued. Min-Jun's face had gone pale. He sat perfectly still, his hands folded on the table. This is ridiculous, Mr. Peterson said. Abigail, what are you trying to do? Sabotage our biggest client pitch because you're upset about not leading the presentation. No, sir, Abigail said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I'm trying to prevent this company from committing fraud. Min-Jun has been systematically stealing my work and presenting it as his own for the past 2 months. That's a serious accusation, Mr. Peterson said coldly. I have serious evidence, Abigail replied. She opened her laptop and connected it to the conference room screen. These are the original files for the GlobalTech strategy, showing I created them between January and March of this year. She pulled up document after document, each one time-stamped and showing her as the creator. These are the same files that were later modified to show Min-Jun as the author, she continued, pulling up the altered versions. The modification dates are all from the past 3 weeks. Here's the access log showing Min-Jun's account accessing and copying my files repeatedly, often late at night after I'd left the office. Sarah nodded. I've verified these logs with IT. They're legitimate. Furthermore, Abigail continued, her confidence growing, I have recordings of practice sessions where Min-Jun couldn't answer basic questions about the research methodology because he didn't do the research. I did. She played a clip from 2 days ago. In it, you could hear Abigail asking Min-Jun where he'd found certain data and Min-Jun fumbling for answers, eventually saying, I'll need to double-check my notes. And finally, Abigail said, I have email correspondence with myself, dated throughout the development process, detailing my ideas, my strategies, and my research. I also have testimony from Jessica in sales, who overheard you, Mr. Peterson, discussing promoting Min-Jun while describing me as just good at technical work. Mr. Peterson's expression shifted from anger to something else. Worry, perhaps. Or guilt. Min-Jun, Sarah said quietly, would you like to respond to these allegations? All eyes turned to Min-Jun. He sat there for a long moment, his face unreadable. Then slowly he took a deep breath. It is true, he said simply. The room went silent. What? Mr. Peterson said. It is true, Min-Jun repeated, looking down at his hands. Abigail created all of the GlobalTech strategy. She taught me everything. I took her work and presented it as my own. Abigail felt a strange mix of vindication and sadness. Part of her had hoped there would be some explanation, some misunderstanding. But no, he'd admitted it. Why? Abigail asked, her voice breaking slightly. I helped you. I trusted you. Why would you do this? Min-Jun finally looked up at her, and for the first time, she saw real emotion in his eyes. Shame. In Korea, I was successful, he began quietly. I was respected. But when I came here, I was nobody. I did not know your systems. I did not understand your culture. Every day I felt small. Inadequate. He paused, struggling with his words. Then I met you, Abigail. You were so talented. So smart. Everyone respected you. And you were kind enough to teach me everything. At first, I was truly grateful. But then what? Abigail pressed. Then I started to see how Mr. Peterson and others treated you, Min-Jun said, glancing at Mr. Peterson. They valued your work, but they did not see you as a leader. They saw you as a worker. Someone who does tasks but does not have vision. That's not, Mr. Peterson started, but Sarah held up a hand to stop him. Let him finish, she said. I realized, Min-Jun continued, that in this company, being good at the work is not enough. You must also be seen as a leader. You must be charismatic. Confidence. You must take credit, not just do the work. He looked directly at Abigail now. I saw that you had all the talent, but none of the recognition. And I had the opportunity for recognition, but not the talent. So I made a terrible choice. I thought if I presented your work as my own, I could prove myself. I could become what Mr. Peterson wanted. I could finally feel successful again. So you stole from the person who helped you the most, Abigail said, her voice hard. Yes, Min-Jun admitted. I am deeply ashamed. There is no excuse for what I did. In trying to prove myself, I became someone without honor. I betrayed your trust and your kindness. I am sorry, Abigail. Truly sorry. The apology hung in the air. It didn't fix anything. It didn't undo the betrayal. But it was something. This is a disaster, Mr. Peterson muttered, running his hands through his gray hair. The GlobalTech executives are waiting. What are we supposed to tell them? We tell them the truth, Sarah said firmly. That there was confusion about who developed the strategy, and we're clarifying it now. And we tell them that Abigail Chun is the actual lead strategist, Abigail added, her voice strong. Because she is. Mr. Peterson looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something like respect in his eyes. Not the dismissive appreciation he'd shown before, but actual respect. You're right, he said quietly. I owe you an apology too, Abigail. Abigail blinked in surprise. I've been a fool, Mr. Peterson continued. Min-Jun was right about one thing. I did see you as someone who did good work, but not as a leader. That was wrong of me. Sexist, probably. Definitely unfair. He stood up and faced her directly. You've been the backbone of this company's success for years, and instead of promoting you, I've been… What? Waiting for you to be more like the men I've worked with? More aggressive? More self-promoting? Abigail didn't know what to say. The truth is, Mr. Peterson said, you are a leader. You've been leading all along. I was just too blind to see it. And when Min-Jun came along with his confidence and his charm, I projected onto him what I thought leadership looked like. I ignored the fact that everything he knew came from you. He turned to Sarah. What are our options here? Well, Sarah said, Min-Jun has admitted to intellectual property theft and misrepresentation. That's grounds for immediate termination. As for you, Mr. Peterson, showing favoritism and bias in promotion decisions could open the company to a discrimination lawsuit. I understand, Mr. Peterson said heavily. But right now, we need to focus on saving the GlobalTech deal. Abigail, would you be willing to lead the presentation? The real presentation with proper credit? Abigail looked at him for a long moment. Part of her wanted to walk away, to let the whole thing crash and burn. They deserved it. But another part of her, the part that had spent 3 years developing that strategy, that had poured her heart into this work, wanted to see it through. I'll do it, she said. But I want some things in writing first. First, Abigail said, standing up to look Mr. Peterson in the eye, I want the senior marketing director position. Not a promise for later. Not we'll see. I want it now, effective immediately, with the full salary and benefits that come with it. Mr. Peterson nodded. Done. Second, Abigail continued, I want a formal written apology from this company acknowledging that my contributions have been undervalued and that I've been passed over for promotions I deserved. And I want it added to my permanent file. Agreed, Sarah said, making notes. Third, Abigail said, looking at Min-Jun, I want Min-Jun's termination to be handled properly. I don't want this company trying to save face by letting him resign quietly or giving him a good reference. What he did was theft, and it should be treated as such. Min-Jun nodded slowly. I understand. I deserve this. And finally, Abigail said, turning back to Mr. Peterson, I want a review of how this company evaluates and promotes employees. Because if this could happen to me, someone with 6 years of proven success, then it's probably happening to other people too. Other women, other people of color, other people who do excellent work, but don't fit someone's narrow idea of what a leader looks like. Mr. Peterson looked uncomfortable, but he nodded. I'll make it happen. You have my word. Your word isn't enough anymore, Abigail said bluntly. I want all of this in writing, signed by you and witnessed by HR, before I go back into that conference room. Abigail, those are my terms, she said firmly. Take them or leave them. But if you leave them, I will walk out of here right now, and you can explain to GlobalTech why your presentation just fell apart. For a moment, Mr. Peterson looked like he might argue. Then he sighed. Sarah, draft the documents. Abigail, you'll have everything in writing within the hour. 45 minutes later, Abigail walked back into the main conference room. The GlobalTech executives looked up curiously. She'd spent those 45 minutes reviewing her materials, calming her nerves, and watching Sarah and Mr. Peterson sign document after document guaranteeing her promotion, her raise, and her recognition. Min-Jun had been escorted out of the building. His badge had been deactivated. His belongings would be mailed to him. He was gone. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Peterson said to the GlobalTech team, I apologize for the delay. There was some confusion about our presentation team. I'd like to properly introduce you to Abigail Chun, our newly promoted Senior Marketing Director, and the lead strategist behind the proposal you're about to see. Abigail stepped forward, shook hands with each executive again, and took her place at the front of the room. Thank you for your patience, she said, her voice clear and confident. I've spent the last 3 years developing a comprehensive marketing strategy specifically designed for a company like GlobalTech. I'm excited to share it with you today. And then she presented, not Min-Jun's watered-down version of her work, but the real thing. Her complete vision, her detailed research, her innovative strategies. She answered every question with expertise and confidence. When Mr. Tanaka asked about methodology, she explained it thoroughly. When Ms. Rodriguez asked about implementation timelines, Abigail provided detailed schedules. When Mr. Harrison asked about ROI projections, she walked him through her calculations step by step. She was brilliant, and everyone in that room knew it. When she finished, the GlobalTech executives sat back in their chairs, impressed. "Ms. Chun," Mr. Harrison said, "that was one of the most comprehensive and well-thought-out strategies I've seen in my 20 years in this industry." "Thank you," Abigail said, allowing herself to smile. "We'll need to discuss it with our team, of course," Ms. Rodriguez added. "But I can tell you right now, I'm very impressed." Very impressed indeed. After the GlobalTech executives left, promising a decision within a week, Abigail returned to her desk. Her new desk, actually, the senior marketing director's office. Rachel appeared in the doorway, grinning. "I heard what happened. All of it. You're officially my hero." Abigail laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. "I just did what needed to be done." "You did more than that," Rachel said. "You stood up for yourself. You demanded what you deserved. And you won." The call came on Friday afternoon. GlobalTech had made their decision. They wanted to move forward with BrightWave. Multi-year contract. Multi-million-dollar deal. And they specifically requested that Abigail Chun be the lead on their account. Mr. Peterson called Abigail into his office, the same office where, weeks ago, he'd asked her to mentor Min-Jun. "Congratulations," he said, shaking her hand. "You saved this company. And you've taught me something important about recognizing real leadership when I see it." "Thank you, sir," Abigail said. "I mean it," Mr. Peterson continued. "I've already started the review you requested. We're implementing new evaluation processes, unconscious bias training for all managers, and a clearer promotion track. It won't fix everything overnight, but it's a start." Abigail nodded. "That's all I can ask for." As she left his office, Abigail thought about Min-Jun. She'd heard through the office grapevine that he'd returned to Korea. She wondered if he'd learned anything from this experience. She hoped he had. But mostly she thought about herself. About the young woman who'd started at this company 6 years ago, eager and hopeful. About all the times she'd worked late, helped others, put in the effort, and been overlooked. That version of Abigail would have stayed quiet, would have accepted being Min-Jun's assistant, would have swallowed her anger, and hoped someone would eventually notice her worth. But this Abigail, the one who'd fought back, who'd demanded recognition, who'd refused to be invisible, she was stronger. Wiser. More confident. She'd learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes being good at your job isn't enough. Sometimes you have to fight for what you deserve. Sometimes you have to demand to be seen. And when you do, when you stand up and refuse to be diminished, that's when you finally become who you were always meant to be. 6 months later, Abigail received a letter. It was postmarked from Seoul, Korea. Inside was a handwritten note from Min-Jun. "Dear Abigail, I know I have no right to contact you, but I wanted you to know that I have been thinking about what happened every day since I returned to Korea. I met with a therapist who has helped me understand that my actions came from my own insecurities and fear of failure. This does not excuse what I did, but it has helped me work on becoming a better person. I have told my new employer about what happened in America. I was honest about my mistakes. They appreciated my honesty and have given me a second chance, but in a junior position where I must prove myself through my own work. I am learning to be proud of what I can actually do, rather than trying to take credit for others' achievements. You were a kind teacher and a good person. I took advantage of that kindness. I hope that someday you can forgive me, though I understand if you cannot. Thank you for teaching me, not just about marketing, but about integrity. Respectfully, Min-Jun." Abigail read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and put it in her desk drawer. She wasn't sure if she forgave him. Maybe someday. Maybe not. But she appreciated that he was trying to grow from his mistakes. As for her, she had work to do. A department to lead. A team to inspire. And a career to build, on her own terms this time. She smiled, turned to her computer, and got back to work. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. We have so many more incredible stories coming your way. Drop a comment and let me know what you thought. Did Abigail do the right thing? What would you have done in her situation? I love reading your thoughts. See you in the next story.